When was the last time you spoke to government about trying to get this strike resolved?
I think we spoke to government back in January. It's been many months. The government is trying to remain aloof, but of course in the contracts they have with the train operating companies, they are directly responsible, and they're responsible for this deadlock and responsible for the fact that there's not a settlement. They've cost the country nearly £5 billion in the course of this dispute. They've given the train operating companies £900 million in subsidies, and they've allowed them to pay £160 million of dividends over the last 2 years. So they're entirely responsible, but like Pontius Pilate, they want to wash their hands of it.
I mean, they will, of course, say that you and your members have cost the country by going out on strike. You say there's an impasse and the government are the ones being the roadblock. What is it exactly that the government aren't allowing the rail delivery group to do?
Well, the government has contracts with all these companies that say that the Secretary of State, Mark Harper, is directly responsible for industrial relations, their negotiating stance and the conduct of the dispute. So they are demanding that our members put up with below inflation pay rises. We haven't had a pay rise for 4 years now, and they've offered 5%, when inflation over that period has probably been 25%. They want to cut thousands of jobs out of the system. They want to shut every booking office in Britain. They want to get rid of catering. They want to get rid of engineering jobs. So there are a whole host of changes that they want to bring in which will be detrimental to the public and the service on the railway and the railway's future, and they're directly responsible for that. But of course they've got a dogmatic approach to workers' wages. They're making working people poorer all over the country, and everywhere outside of Mark Harper's remit we've got settlements. We've got settlements in Scotland, we've got settlements in Wales, we've even got settlements with the private sector rail operators and the bus companies and everybody else we deal with, except where the Tory government controls the industry. We've got no settlement and we've got strikes.
Mick, you had a list there of things that are part of the problem in the negotiations. So it's more than pay. I mean, the last time we spoke, there were a couple of things that were really at the heart of this. You said it was driver-only operated trains and the shutting of ticket offices. But you expanded the list there. Where is this? Because the negotiations are going to have to come down to a couple of things, isn't it, at some point?
Well, we hope so. We hope we can get a sensible deal. Where we deal with companies directly, where they've got their business and their reputation and their capital at stake, they make settlements. The fact is that the government is subsidising this. They want to drive through changes that we believe will be detrimental to our people who work on the railway, but also detrimental to the passengers that use it. We want a thriving railway. We want a railway that's safe for every man and woman in the country and for people to travel, for disabled people. They won't allow that because they've got a dogmatic approach. But, you know, they're doing this in every sector. They're doing it in our children's schools. They're doing it in our hospitals. They're driving down wages. They're driving standards down. And it's based on the fact that they want to make people poorer to drive down this inflation rate. And we haven't contributed to inflation because our members haven't had a pay rise for 4 years. So we can't have caused this price spiral. So we need to get on with negotiating a sensible agreement, and if the government can enable that, we'll be a good faith partner. But we need to have a room for manoeuvre so that we can create a settlement.
Of course, they would dispute that they want to make people poorer, Mick, as you know. And talking about being...
Well, they are making people poorer all over the country.
Yeah, let me put
people are being impoverished all over the country.
And you've made that point, Mick. But, you know, people are going to be travelling all around the country this weekend for a number of huge events, as you well know. The FA Cup final, there's a Beyonce concert in London, and you're going to be ruining their weekend by your guys being out on strike. Well, that's not what we seek to do. We're trying to defend our people, defend their standard of living and defend their jobs. We don't want to ruin people attending Beyonce or the FA Cup or anything else. Last year, the railway decided to close the entire West Coast, which most of those people will be using on Cup final day. So they don't care about football fans or pop fans. They don't care about anything apart from propping up private sector operators on the railway. So if we can get a settlement, we can get the railway running again, and that's what we're looking for. We're available night and day to negotiate a deal on this dispute, but we need a counterpart in order to do that.